Pride League. One of the best holidays on the map. You've got football, you've got turkey, and you've got family, but I guess that's different for everybody. Last week was a wonderful week in football and fantasy, but before we get to that, I want to take a snapshot of the standings. The playoff picture isn't getting any clearer with the boss, Hollywood Cole Brothers and Stacking Yards still trying to claw into that final spot. But don't get it twisted, it's anyone's ball game, as there are 4 teams with 4 losses. Classy Strippers, Disabled Vigilantes, Agent Smith, and West Coast Giants desperately attempt to hang on to their playoff hopes. And you must be blind if you don't see Dunder Mifflin on a 6-game win streak, vaulting him to the top of the standings. Is he top of the power rankings too? But first, last week we had Disabled Vigilantes going up against Unfuckwittable. And Disabled Vigilantes put up over 300 points for the first time this season.
I don't want to have to slow down. It's so close I can hardly breathe.
I'm trying to get there, folks. Next, we had Chicago Chalupas going up against Stacking Yards, and I got this one wrong. Stacking Yards came to play. Simply put, a monster game from Stacking Yards defense. Wish I still had some Chris Jones. Stacking Yards gets the well-deserved win. Next, we had Dunder Mifflin going up against Griffey Cakes. And Griffey Cakes put together a wonderful showing. But unfortunately, Dunder Mifflin and the boys in Scranton weren't about to let this opportunity pass them by. Not only the #1 paper company in PA, they are the #1 team in the Pride Dynasty League. At least according to the standings. Next, we had Dynasty Sage going up against those West Coast Giants. And Dynasty Sage did outperform, just not well enough to beat West Coast Giants, as I predicted. Next, we had Hollywood Cole Brothers going head-to-head with Wubba Lubba Dub Dub and not going to let an insignificant fantasy team derail their hopes and dreams of fantasy glory. Those Hollywood Cole Brothers did what needed to be done. Next, we had the boss going up against Classy Strippers, and I picked Classy Strippers. Now, deep down, I thought the boss was going to win this matchup. I figured the boss's defense would come to play, scoring over 150 points, but Classy Strippers still overcoming that, as the offense of Classy Strippers would have vaulted him past every other team except one this week. As I predicted, Classy Strippers finds a way to get this vital win. So far, I am 5-1 in the picks this week. How did I pick? The game of the week. We had Agent Smith going up against Redacted, ADP 1897. Both of these titans vying for the #1 spot. But unfortunately, Agent Smith suffers a critical blow to Joe Burrow. Don't expect Joe Cool to be in Agent Smith's lineup for the rest of the season. An absolute devastating blow to one of our leading fantasy studs week in and week out. And though my rival is wounded, he is still very dangerous, people. You don't win that many fantasy studs by accident. Speaking of which, the fantasy stud for the week is none other than yours truly, Disabled Vigilantes.
I can't hold back when there's something I want. I'm giving everything that I've got. Oh, yeah. It's been my obsession.
Like I said, gentlemen, it's getting there. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the team I lost to 2 weeks ago happens to be the fantasy dud of the week. Wubba Lubba Dub Dub with 151 points is your fantasy dud of the week. It isn't the lowest score ever put together in a week, but it's pretty close. How do I see the power rankings going into week 12? Starting from the bottom till we get to the top, we got a pretty consistent staple at 14 with Dynasty Sage. At 13, Unfuckwittable. 12, Wubba Lubba Dub Dub. At 11, we've got Griffey Cakes. At 10, Stacking Yards. Coming in at number 9, we've got Disabled Vigilantes? Is that a typo? At 8, we've got West Coast Giants. Rounding out the bottom of the playoff 7, we've got Classy Strippers. At 6, those Hollywood Cole Brothers. At 5, we've got The Boss. At 4, we've got Agent Smith. Chicago Chalupas at 3. Redacted, ADP 1897 sitting at number 2. And all alone atop of the power rankings, we have Dunder Mifflin at 1. The boys in Scranton have put in a little bit of overtime with 6 straight victories. Now that is a massive shakeup in the power rankings. Let's see why. First up, we've got Redacted, ADP 1897 going head to head with Disabled Vigilantes, and this one should be entertaining at best. Almost made this the game of the week, but there was one more game that had a little bit more of importance. Who do I have winning this particular matchup? I want to pick myself, but I can't see Redacted ADP 1897 losing to me this week. It was tough, but I indeed picked Redacted ADP 1897 to win this matchup. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Next up, we've got Griffey Cakes going up against Chicago Chalupas. And Chicago Chalupas is desperate for a victory here. Will Griffey Cakes play spoiler? Yeah, damn right he will. Griffey Cakes, be relevant. I'm not so sure Chicago Chalupas is in danger of missing the playoffs, but a loss right here will definitely have him spotting in his tidy whities, if you know what I mean. But I'm calling it. This is my upset of the week. Griffey Cakes gets this victory. Next, we have Stacking Yards going up against Agent Smith. And without Joe Burrow, that quarterback spot looks rather dim for Agent Smith. Stacking Yards is desperate, clinging to hope of a playoff berth. I've got Stacking Yards winning this matchup. Next up, we've got Unfuckwittable going up against those Hollywood Cole Brothers. And is there a chance? Is there even an inkling of hope that Unfuckwittable could upset Hollywood Cole Brothers? Nope. Hollywood Cole Brothers gets another win. Next, we've got those West Coast Giants going up against The Boss. Oh. And this, my friends, is where West Coast Giants is going to come up against another titan of fantasy football. Much like Agent Smith, this quarterback room is despicable. I wasn't sure that there was a quarterback room that was worse than what Joe Burrow had left Agent Smith. But let's not forget what happened to West Coast Giants. The benching of Mac Jones, the injury to Kirk Cousins. It could happen to anyone. There's just too much going against West Coast Giants this week. The Boss gets this victory. Next, we have Wubba Lubba Dub Dub going up against Dynasty Sage. And it really doesn't matter who wins this matchup, but I'm going to give it to Wubba Lubba Dub Dub. I don't know why. Who cares? Who cares? And last, but certainly not least, we've got our game of the week. Classy Strippers going head to head against Dunder Mifflin. Now, I don't know, boys. This one will be worth the price of admission. Dunder Mifflin is on a tear, but can our reigning champion derail that success? This week, I'm giving it to Dunder Mifflin. Dunder Mifflin continues his reign of terror on this league right now against our reigning champions. Those are my picks. Like it or love it. Now it's safe to say that a few teams aren't going to be punching their tickets into the playoffs this year. Wubba Lubba Dub Dub. Better luck next year. Griffey Cakes. The future looks bright for this young roster, but that's gonna have to wait until next year. Unfuckwittable. Talk about bright futures. How many picks does this man have? Whoa. Stacking Yards, I'm not ready to count him out just yet. This guy could be playoff material. We'll hold off as long as you keep winning. That's all I got for you today. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, and probably more importantly, a wonderful week in fantasy football. Everybody except that damn redacted ADP 1897. A win here for me would be a tremendous weight off of my shoulders. Be easy. Peace.